Welcome to Cisco's Virtual Kitchen. My name is Lisa Evangelos with the Culinary Federation, and we're excited to be back with another episode of Chefs in the Field. We're excited to travel east today to Prince Edward Island, but more about that and our special guest after the intro. Hello. Welcome back to the Culinary Federation's Chefs in the Field and around the world. Today we're traveling east to Prince Edward Island. As always, before we get started, I'd just like to thank Cisco's Virtual Kitchen for offering us the platform to connect with our members, cooks, culinary partners across Canada. Today, we are meeting with General Manager and self-proclaimed mule of Raspberry Point Oysters in Prince Edward Island. Welcome, James.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We're excited to get a little peek into what it takes to bring oysters across Canada and even the world. You're tuning in today from Prince Edward Island, and I just wanted to hop right into it and for you to tell us a little bit about Raspberry Point Oysters, how it got started, and a little bit about the company.
Sure thing. Well, the company got started about 35 years ago. The owner and his father actually used to public fish out on the public grounds, and they would save a few oysters in front of their cottage in the water to enjoy year round. And that sort of led to maybe they would hire some young fella to carry stuff around, aka the mule, and maybe they would try growing a few oysters. So about 30 plus years ago, I got involved, and we tried our hand at growing some oysters. Those early years were tough, but it takes a long time to grow an oyster, and we eventually got the entire year, and now the numbers are much bigger.
Oh, well, how much bigger? How many oysters are you producing each year? You were saying you had lots of numbers to share with me.
Well, in 2019, we were at about, that was our best year in 2019. And we were at about 21 million oysters we sold that year. 2020, of course, took a little dip, and we were down to about 12 million. But 2021 looks to exceed that 21.5 million substantially. So I suspect we'll be way above the 21 million. Our sales per week, on a slow week now, we're selling 500,000 oysters.
Oh my goodness. Okay, and you're right in the thick of it right now. As you can see, James is braving some fierce weather, and he's in the rain for us so that we can get an up-close look at what growing oysters even looks like. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what's behind you there?
Right on. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch the camera over, and I'm just going to show you a couple of things that we have going on. Here we go with the camera.
You're doing double duty today as our special guest and our talented cameraman. So here you go. I'm going to switch from back to front. There it is.
There we go.
Well done.
So what I'm going to show you first, you see out beyond the bridge is New London Bay. And that's in Cavendish, Prince Edward Island. That's where we hold all of our oysters. And what we have out there now is we have a bunch of these oyster pods. They're all filled with oysters. As you can see, there's 100 oysters per tray, and there's 42 of those trays in each pod. And what we'll do is after we fill them up, we'll take them out, put them in 15 or 20 feet of water, let the ice form over the top of them this winter, and that'll give us access to them in the winter. We can drive out on the ice and cut a hole and pull them up. That gives us fresh oysters all year round. So that's kind of our winter. Yeah. I'm just going to show you a couple of things that we do use to grow them. This little contraption that you see here is called an oyster collector. And what that does is, as the baby oysters are swimming around and they get about 3 weeks old, they're looking for something solid to attach to. So what we do is we'll hang these in the water and we'll catch the little babies. And that allows us to take them from where we caught them and put them in bags and cages that we'll use to grow them. So there's various different ways you can do it, but this oyster grow cage that you see here, it's really it's the way that we do stuff now. So you can see it looks like a little raft, and it has 6 bags of oysters in it and 2 pontoons that float it. And what's really great about it is when the ice comes in, instead of having to pull all your infrastructure out, you can actually just take your cap off, let this fill with water, and that will sink to the bottom below the ice, and it protects all your oysters in these little bags.
That's incredible.
That works. Yeah, that works really well in the area that we're at, because when the ice comes in, it makes it difficult to harvest oysters.
Right. Okay. And so what's going on behind you? I saw there were a couple of people. Are they harvesting oysters behind you? What exactly are they doing?
Well, the weather's a little tough today. So today we're doing some grading and cleaning of oysters. You can see Mitch here working away on this oyster to get some nice raw stuff. That's a beautiful oyster, nice and round, nice thick cup to it. That's a beauty.
That is a beauty. And so how many people work for Raspberry Point? How many staff do you have?
We actually run about 50 staff most of the year. And that's once the ice starts to come in, we'll scale that down a little bit. But we're probably at a little over 50, and then this time of year, as we get into the ice season, it'll drop down a bit to 30 or so. So we'll keep on for the winter.
And so did you say that you have been with the company for 30 years?
33 years.
33 years.
Yeah, long time.
Well, then you know the history. So can you tell me a little bit more about why the name is Raspberry Point? What does that significance have?
Yeah, well, it's kind of, when we originally started selling oysters, we sold them under the Malpeck brand. And that's sort of a generic name for any oyster coming out of PEI. But what we found was that there was different grades of Malpeck oysters. You know, there's some really nice ones, and there were some really average ones, and maybe some poorer ones. But the customer didn't know how to distinguish that from the name. So what we decided that we would change the name to Raspberry Point, so that people would know when they bought our oysters, they would get a certain grade, they would expect a certain quality, and they would have a consistent taste. So Raspberry Point is the name of a little point of land here at the Cavendish National Park. So some of the locals call it Raspberry Point. It's on the Homestead Trail, and that's where our first oyster lease was. So that's where the name came from. All the subsequent names after that were based on either where they grow or grades. What we wanted to have a reproducible experience for the consumer, so they would have size and taste the same each time.
Amazing. I love the history. I'm always interested in the history of a company and why they named themselves what they did. So thanks for sharing that. So is there anything else you want to show us from this spot before you run up and we take a little commercial break, or you think we're good for a commercial break now?
No, we're good for a commercial break now.
Okay, we'll take that and you'll hustle up the hill, I believe. So we'll break right now. We'll be right back with James and Raspberry Point.
Cisco is Canada's leading restaurant supplier, with more than 14 locations across the country, servicing every province and territory. We are grateful for our partnerships and proud to service our customers from St. John's, Newfoundland to Victoria, BC. With the most distribution sites in Canada, we are recognized for our national reach and local connection. Cisco services every community size, from every major city to every small town. We are relentlessly innovating to ensure you have the products and services you need, no matter your location, with a coverage area that's continuously expanding. A partnership with Cisco guarantees access to the industry's best distribution network, keeping you on trend and stocked with fresh products and fresh ideas. Cisco Canada provides a broad range of food and non-food products to both independent and chain restaurant customers and other away-from-home locations, such as healthcare and educational facilities. No matter your cuisine type or culinary capabilities, we can help. Our products are sourced locally in Canada and within our specialized global network of responsible suppliers. Our categories include meat and poultry, seafood, dairy, produce, bakery and desserts, food service supplies, beverages, specialty and world food products, and pantry staples. Locally focused, our regional teams provide the hands-on customer service that sets us apart, ensuring you have what you need when you need it. Visit cisco.ca to learn more.
Okay. I see you're almost at the top of the hill there then. So we're moving from where you guys grow the oysters, and now we're moving up to where in the facility? The processing, is that what you said?
That's right. So we're going to go into the production facility here now and just take a little look. I'm going to switch the camera again. Well done. I said it was 2 minutes away. We were close.
Yeah, it's like you've done this before.
Yeah. Get on the camera.
Well, while you're switching that, I'll just tell a quick story because I actually had the privilege of meeting you a couple of years ago when we had the Culinary Federation National Conference in Prince Edward Island, and Raspberry Point and James was their host, had a little booth at our trade show, and I got to try the Raspberry Point oysters. And the Culinary Institute, too, that's in Charlottetown, made a lime coulis that you added on top of the oyster. Do you remember this?
I remember the conference, and of course, I remember meeting you. And
of course.
Good time.
Anyway, they made this amazing lime coulis, almost like a little bit of a margarita slush, and you put it on top of the oyster. And it was incredible. And so I have a very clear memory of my first introduction to Raspberry Point oysters.
Great.
It was a good one.
So that's the little building we were at just not too long ago. And I'm going to take a little walk through the cooler and through the production facility. So, of course, lots of trucks around. So we come into the cooler, and you'll see some of the brands we have. So here's some Raspberry Points, some Cisco oysters, Lucky Lime. There's Earl moving a pallet.
Hi, Earl.
Hi, Earl. Bags of oysters. So what we do is when Rich and the gang that we were just at, what they would take in oysters, this is what they would look like. So they come in, they're already counted and graded. So what we would do is we put them through the production plant that I'm going to walk into now. And this is the production plant. Hey, Ralphie. Hi, everyone. So what we would do, you see Ralphie's going to dump in some oysters on one end, and it basically just goes through a washer. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick out anything that doesn't belong there, any dead oysters, anything that's out of grade, and what we'll do is we'll box them up. So you kind of move the oysters around, picking through them. We get them ready, box them up. There's the Raspberry Points there. And then they'll get boxed up they'll get wrapped up and set out in the cooler. So this last step that they do is really they're just making sure that everything's good before it goes out. And all the work we do beforehand that allows us to get the oysters fresh in one day. What we can do is we can harvest in the morning, wash them, box them up, get them ready to go, and they can be out that night. So you get a very good, very fresh product.
Wow, that's an amazing turnaround time.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know, since you said that you've been with the company for 33 years and you said that Raspberry Point has been around for 35.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Very,
Is
that's right.
oysters all you've ever done? Because you look like a young, spry guy. So you've been doing oysters and you've been involved in oysters your whole life, basically.
Well, pretty much, but I'll tell you, there's a little story about how I kind of got started here. And what happened was I got actually hired by the owner as an ice cream maker. So I had just finished my degree in chemistry and was doing some research, not loving it by any means. And the owner wanted to take his ice cream plant from a provincially registered facility to a federally registered facility. So what they want to do is they want to present the best case to the bank. So they hired a young fellow with a chemistry degree who knew nothing about oysters or ice cream, but it looked good at the bank note, and got a loan. And I started actually as an ice cream maker. Of course, ice cream, you're not going to do that year round here in PEI. That's a summertime job. So we on the weekends and when we were time off, we started doing the oyster stuff. So that was kind of how my footstep into growing oysters really started with ice cream.
And so are you still
So if
involved
you've
with
ever,
ice cream at all?
well, I call myself a consultant, and the reason I do that is just so I can get a free scoop here and there and try some stuff out. But my job with the ice cream is done.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a great story, from ice cream to oysters. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
So earlier we were talking a little bit about some of the challenges in growing oysters. So why don't you share some of those with us?
So probably the biggest things that we have are, we have some predators. You have crabs, you have starfish who love to eat oysters. So, you want to protect your oysters from that. Some of the other things we have is, ice kill and weather. A lot of the times when you're in 2015, we actually got about 5 feet of ice, which is more than double what we would normally get. So that ice sits on the beds. You can crush your inventory, and it really makes them hard to get. Lately, what we've been getting is, instead of getting moderate amounts of wind and rain and stuff like that, everything seems to come as a storm. So after you get a certain amount of rain, they will actually close the beds, and by they I mean like CFIA, Environment Canada, so that you can't actually harvest. So what we've had to do is we had to put stuff into place, like we built huge tanks to hold oysters when we know a storm's coming, or when we know there's going to be a lot of ice or anything like that. We built these huge tanks to hold oysters. So that's kind of the challenges on that side. Lately, we have, the last few years, the challenges are the same as everybody in every industry, and that's staffing. To find, we have such a wonderful core group here who can get a lot done, but there's a lot of times that we're looking for extra hands, and it's very difficult to find them now.
Yeah, I imagine. I feel like that's an issue that we're having across the country in any culinary related industry or business. Yeah. Finding good staff has been a real challenge.
Real challenge.
Where would you say the future of Raspberry Point is headed?
Well, Raspberry Point's got a bright future, and we're just in the process now of building our new production facility, and it's 32,000 square feet. Most of that is storage, but that will give us the capability to, maybe do more retail packs, to do more stuff on demand. We can get done right that minute, so it wants to do anything ahead of time, and it's a really good. It'll be really helpful for us to have that availability for storage. You don't want to wait till the last minute, if a storm's coming to be able to harvest stuff. So this will give us the capability of having some product ready to go.
And so you were saying earlier that you, with making over, was it 21 million oysters?
Yeah, we'll be well over
Would you
21
say
million.
there's still, and did you say there's still a demand, like you aren't even meeting your demand in that number of production?
Right. We've been doing pretty well. You know, during the pandemic, of course, everybody's sales dropped rock bottom, and you know, they slowly were creeping up, and we had planned on maybe 60 or 70% business based on 2019. But when July came around and things opened up, that actually skyrocketed to 150 or 200% of 2019. And of course, with a with taking 5 years to grow an oyster, it's difficult to turn that around really quick. So all the planning we had done for, you know, storage and all that capability, we were scrambling to try to meet that demand.
Yeah.
So far, we've been okay, but there might be some lean times later this winter.
Yeah. And when is that new production facility estimated to be built by?
We're hoping that we're going to be in late winter, early spring. It's close.
Okay. Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And it's right in the same area that you were just touring us around today, or is it in a different area?
It's very close. It's just the next driveway, and yeah.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I just really am so thankful that you were able to make this work, where you fought through, you know, crazy weather so that we could see behind the scenes at Raspberry Point. So thank you so much for being with us here today, James. And as always,
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah, and always a big thank you to Cisco Virtual Kitchen for having the Culinary Federation and our Chefs in the Field series a part of your programming. Thank you to Jay Ashton in the background, who's been running things and putting some very helpful tips about oysters and seafood on the screen for us. We look forward to another episode next month, and we just hope that you all have a great rest of your week and a happy Thanksgiving to those in the States. So thanks, and take care, James.
Thank you. My pleasure.